Hey there, everybody. It's Kathy Mazak. I wanted to come in and do a live video today with a little Q&A because there's been lots of questions in my I Should Be Writing group related to writing, and I thought this would be a great time to actually answer some of your questions. So somebody in the group posted a question, and I have a couple of other ones that are kind of common questions that get asked a lot. And so I wanted to just come in and start talking about that. So a couple of things. Well, let's just jump in and get started. So Lisa Ortiz, shout out to Lisa. She asked in the group, grant proposal writing isn't the same as other academic writing. Do we treat them differently for optimal results? And this is a great question. So really, I would love to hear what other people have to say about this, but I think that in terms of like the process that I teach, like the processes of how you fit writing into your day, how you put writing at the center, I think you can treat grant writing the same way. So that's to say that if you've watched my live video from Friday, and you learned about Tiger Time and the things that we learned last week in the Summer Writing Challenge, all of them also apply to grant writing. So things like you want to use your best time of day for pen to paper writing or cursor to screen writing, right? So you want to use your best, most energetic times to get words on the page. You want to break projects into tasks. You want to plan them out. So really like the structure of it all and how you set it up is really the same. And also grant writing is also storytelling. So I think that that's something to make sure that you remember that just like we're going to craft a narrative, whether we're writing a scientific paper or a paper that's about somebody's autobiography or whatever we're going to write, there's a beginning, a middle, and end. There's a narrative structure, and different fields of study create that narrative in a different way. So like, for example, in an academic article, in the sciences, depending on which science, the science is a big place, but, it might be that the graphs, and charts kind of show the story of what the data says, that kind of stuff. The same is true, and even more true, I think, in terms of thinking about grant writing as story. In a grant, like when you're writing the project description, it has to be, you have to create an argument in such a way that you feel like there's no other option but to fund this grant. Like the only way to solve this big problem that you have set up as a big problem in your narrative, the only way to solve it is through this way that you're proposing in the grant. Similarly, when you write about yourself in the, when you're describing the people on the project, it has to, you have to write it so that it sounds like these are the only characters who could play these roles, right? So those are things to think about in terms of grant writing. Thank you, Lisa, for your question. And so I'm going to answer talk about a couple other kind of frequently asked questions that have come up in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group, but I can see there's people joining. So if you have any questions related to writing, time management, publishing, anything related to writing in academia, go ahead and pop them in the comments. If you're watching this on my, if you're actually watching it in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group, I can't see comments there right now. So I can only see them if you click through and you're commenting on the Facebook page. So a little technicality. So another thing that has been a really frequent topic of conversation inside the I Should Be Writing Facebook group has been how do you organize your reading related to your writing, right? And so that is a really great question, and I'm going to give you kind of what I like to do. But also I think we should have a little bit of a conversation about reading in general, like where do we get how do you get your reading done? How do you schedule it in? Do you schedule reading during Tiger Time? So let me say that I think that your reading, the reading and everything that you do in preparation for writing counts as writing. So a lot of times we get down on ourselves because we say like, oh, I never get to my writing, or I never get my writing done. But what we're considering writing is only words on the page. And we have to be really aware that that's not what academic writing is like, right? That the preparation for academic writing includes everything from watering the plants in the greenhouse for the experiment, right? To like, reading things, going to archives, data analysis, coding, like so many things across all of our different fields of study. And it's very different for everyone. So, I teach people, inside the Academic Women's Writing Roadmap course to create, like we start with a generic pipeline and then you create your pipeline. Hello, Shannon. So it's really important when you're thinking about the reading piece, that reading to support the writing is part of the process. And because it's part of the process, maybe you want to actually put it in as a stage in your pipeline, depending on how how it works best for you. If reading is something that you always feel you never get to, or you feel like you're doing it haphazardly, then it's a great idea to figure out a way to systematize that as part of your writing process. So that's kind of one thing that we do inside the roadmap course is talk about we talk about like how do you craft your own pipeline and then how do you manage your pipeline, right? That's a big part of the course. So having said that, another thing to think about with reading is that just like I'm always saying, break your writing projects into tasks, reading is also one of the tasks, right? And you need to break it down. You don't want to maybe put read for the lit review, but rather like one thing I love to say is like when you're creating a lit review, you want to think of the different fields that are overlapping in your literature review. And so when you're thinking about reading tasks, you can put a reading task like read X article. You can get that specific if you want. Or you could say something like, like we need to make sure that we cover these like this area overlapping with this area, overlapping with this area, and really break down like what is it that you need to be reading? How are you going to fit your work into what's already out there in the literature? One of the things that we have done in the Academic Women's Writing Collective is we had a whole workshop on writing the lit review. And so if you join the roadmap course, you get 15 weeks of access to the collective. And you could watch that, take that training as well about how to write a literature review. And we talk about all the aspects of planning it and how to set up your reading and how to think about it, as you're planning. But just like any other writing, just like any other aspect of writing, like you need to project plan your reading as well. So let me talk a little bit about tools to do that. So you definitely should be probably using a tool like Zotero or Mendeley to organize your writing. And what I find is important for me is to be able to keep notes about the writing and to be able to search what is basically becoming my library of things that I've read. You need to be able to like search them and pull up, if possible, attached PDFs, right? So as you kind of grow in academia, it's a good idea to pick one tool. So if it's going to be Zotero, stick with Zotero. If it's going to be Mendeley, stick with Mendeley, and grow your own library of what you've read inside of that tool. So having said that, and you can choose whatever tool you want, and I love the discussion threads going on in the I Should Be Writing group about that. Fantastic. Then what you can do when you're actually ready to sit down and write, when you know what things you want to include, you can always use other ways of organizing, like in what order are you going to talk about the different, things that you've read, whatever. You can do that with a mind map, with an outline, or with Trello, because, you could have a card for each source on your Trello board, and you could move them around and order them in different ways. The nice thing about Trello is that it's visual, so that's just a little something that you could play with doing. is when you get to the actual, like, okay, now I got to organize my literature review or organize my literature for this paper, then I could organize it using Trello as a way to kind of almost mind map it out. So that's an idea. The other thing that people ask a lot about reading is like, when do you read? Like, do you read during your tiger time? Do you read during your writing blocks? Like, if reading is writing, then are we going to use our writing blocks for that? So in general, the advice that I give is to do your cursor to page writing during your tiger time, unless you don't feel like it, or like you sit down to do it and it's hard, then pick something else from your task list to do, and that could be reading. There was a while there last semester, and this is the kind of pace I want to get back into. I don't know if it's going to happen this summer or if it's going to happen in the fall. What I would do is I would drop off the kids, and then I have 2 hours of tiger time, which is my best writing time. I would say it's 2, pushing 3 hours, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, like from 8 or 8:30 to 10:30 or 11, that would be my tiger time block. So I would do my writing during that time. Anything that needs my super attention and super focus happens during that time. Then, let's say it's like 11. For me, I'm an early lunch eater, so I start to get hungry. So I might have another coffee and a sandwich or something at that time. My husband always calls me when I'm live. Every single time. Okay, sorry. So I might, eat something and then read after I eat. So when so I don't necessarily use my tiger time for reading, but you totally could, especially if you're like trying to fire some ideas in there and really grasp how you're going to use a certain reading. You could certainly use your tiger time for reading. So anyway, ideal schedule, definitely. Big, not big, but writing time during my tiger time for 2 hours, eat something, walk around, read, and then for an hour or an hour and a half, which is probably how long I could read without actually falling asleep because I'm sleep deprived chronically. And then a great idea is then to take a 20 or 30 minute walk if you can. Walk if you're on campus, stand up and walk around campus. And don't listen to anything on your headphones or anything. Just go and take a walk and let your brain work on what you just read. I also find that walking to help with the writing process and figuring out connections that I need to make. If I put my brain to it almost like a meditation and like think, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I need to figure out. I need to figure out the relationship between these two things, and then walk and think. That's really helppful. So I was doing that for maybe tops 4 or 5 weeks last semester. And it was not last semester, last semester, the beginning of last semester. And it was working really nicely. And I really want to find that rhythm again. Because even if I could have 2 days a week that are like that, I think it would be totally amazing. So, I can see that there's people watching. If you have any questions, pop it in the chat. Any questions? Any questions about writing or academia or how we survive this? Oh my goodness. Okay, so while you're thinking of questions to put in the chat, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Writing Roadmap course, which closes tonight. So if you go to the link that I'm putting in the chat, you're going to see this page, and go ahead and leave me your questions if you want to get them answered. So let's see. There we go. So you'll get to this page, which is the page that explains everything about the course. Okay. So basically there's 7 hours and 45 minutes left to get the course at the early bird registration price. So if you're interested, you can come on over to that link and check this out. And really this is when you get to this pink bit here, you'll see this is kind of what I want to how I want you to feel after you finish the course. I want you to feel confident, calm, and collected. I want you to be able to leave work at work, pre-plan your writing and be consistent, and also forgive yourself, and find purpose and alignment in all of your academic endeavors. So definitely want you to come over to this page, check this out, see if this course is for you. And now we have questions in the chat. Yay! Okay, let me just put this back to my face. Is that good? Okay, cool. All right, so, oh no, my daughter's sick and it looks like the movie just ended, but okay, we'll see what she does. So, hi Maxine. How do you plan vacations along with writing projects? That's such a great question. So, I think that when you're on vacation, you should be on vacation. And that resting in the summer, and by resting, because not always vacations are resting, but having your mind be thinking about something that's not writing and something that's not work is super important, especially in the summer, because sometimes it's the only chance we really get to do that. So what I would say is what you want to do is get like a calendar of the summer, which you can get from just like Googling June, July, August, or whatever, and getting like, a calendar you could write on with pencil, or your planner, whatever. But I like to make kind of like high level plans that are not necessarily things I want to have in my planner all the time, with calendars that I just print one off. And you're going to block out your vacation time. And then you're going to block out the day before you leave and the day after you leave as your on-ramp and off-ramp days. Because if you think because that's going to really reduce your amount of vacation stress. So you don't want to plan things for the day you get back from a vacation or the day or the day before you leave. Because the day before you leave, you're supposed to be getting ready to go. And the day before you get back, you need a landing period, where you're not, right? So, what I would then so get a calendar and just block all of that out, your vacations and then the day before and after. Then what I want you to do is I want you to see what are the blocks that are left? Are they 2-week blocks? Or are they 3-week blocks? What's around the vacation? And then I want you to think about the possibility, as one suggestion, of creating writing sprints, on one project before the vacation and on a different project after the vacation. So again, since I don't know your specific situation, I can't give you more specific advice than that, but the idea is to use the vacation as a task switch, a giant task switch, and get as far as you can on some project, stop, go on vacation, enjoy yourself, and then pick up on the different project when you get back. And that's one way to move more than one project forward, which most of the time we're doing that, right? If you're only working on one project and not more than one project this summer, yay for you. Just think about ways that you could take the one project and divide it into chunks. So if it's a book project, could you work on, chapter 2 before and chapter 3 after, or something like that. So that's my idea, Maxine. And I see your other question, as well, about struggling with planning rest. Is that because you don't feel like you need rest? Or because, because here's the thing about planning rest. And Kristen, this goes for your question too, which is I'm moving across the country in the middle of the summer and I'm worried it's going to kill my productivity. Any tips? So the biggest and most important thing I think about any kind of disruptions like that. So, on a positive side, I guess those things are both positive. I hope that moving across the country is positive for you, Kristen. But both of those things, resting and moving, will disrupt whatever rhythm you have going on. Just like a vacation will, right, Maxine? So what you want to do is you just want to plan for that. So it's the same thing that I say about the ebb and flow of the semester. Here's what we normally do, or here's what most people do, and here's what feels bad, okay? What we do is we're we're just gonna we're going to move across the country. We're going to leave on Monday. We're going to get there on Thursday. And then, so I'm just going to I've been writing an hour a day since April. So I'm just going to, on the Friday after we get there, I'm going to pick up for an hour and a day. No, you're not. Okay. So the same thing, like you go on vacation and you come back and there's like, you need to just like forgive yourself. Just give yourself a break. Some people say, give yourself some grace, right? And plan for the fact that a move is a very disruptive thing and that, I don't know what all it involves, Kristen. I'm so happy for you that it's very positive. I don't know if it involves a U-Haul or driving long distances or packing up a bunch of stuff and then unpacking it. But I would just leave yourself like huge amounts of time, like more time than you think is necessary to do all of those things. And then turn back to your writing on an intentional date that you set in your calendar. That's later than you probably want it to be, but will give you that time to do the transition of moving. Whenever you have upheaval, and this is like about everything. And so for me, I've written, I had that piece that came out in Inside Higher Ed that I had when my son was a baby. He was really sick. We were in the hospital for a week or 10 days, and it really like disrupted me physically, and because of the lack of sleep and our family and our routines and everything. So you can't expect to like be in the hospital for a week with your sick kid, leave the hospital on Saturday, and on Monday you're just back to like 100% normal. Like it just doesn't work that way, nor should it. So the same thing with moving, right? Like you are gonna be disrupted, right? And so you want to just give yourself time to just deal with the move. And then if you're worried about your productivity, what I would do is set a date in your calendar. Like I would actually go into your calendar and say, okay, this is the day that I'm allowed to worry about writing again or my productivity again. But all of these other days, I need to worry about getting you my move done, because that's important. It's really important to feel settled in the new place, and it's a lot of balls in the air to figure out. So congratulations on your move. Maxine says, I realized that I don't plan vacations, only conferences, and I don't plan rest either. Yes, well, I mean, how many people plan rest? Hardly anybody. And when I say it, people are like, how can I do that? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. You totally can. I also like this semester, I super struggled to get the rest that I needed. I had back problems. I overdid myself and I didn't plan rest. Even though I know that that's what I need to do, right? So I would say that conferences are not restful. They can be stimulating, but the travel, like for me, is not restful travel. I might actually get more rest at a conference than I do at home because I'm away from kids. But you should also plan rest. And plan rest can be like an afternoon, during the week that a whole day if you can, an afternoon if you can't, a Saturday for a couple hours where you really are just like either you lay down and watch something on your phone, which is what I did yesterday. I'm watching Downton Abbey from the beginning again because that's going to be my rest during this 2-week period until the end of this week. I'm like super busy. So, but that's going to be like my down time. No pun. So, but I would prefer to plan other kinds of rests, right? Which mean like, a little time away or doing something nice for yourself, or you plan not to cook dinner for a week. So you have, you outsource dinner all week or whatever you're going to do. But I think that especially in the summer, planning rest is super important. Give it a try. Andrea says, what do you suggest if your current writing project doesn't really fit with your mission anymore? Ooh, this is good. I'm considering a shift in my research writing so that future projects fit with my academic mission. But I have all this material for my dissertation that I had planned on publishing because it's low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Do I just publish the low-hanging fruit to get pubs out there, then move on to a different field, or try to balance both? Okay. So it's sad when it can feel sad or like you're wasting something by not publishing, not publishing that stuff from your dissertation. What I would say though is when you think about kind of like cost of opportunity, right? So if you're either going to spend a lot of time publishing that, which isn't going to be developing who you're in your new direction behind your academic mission, or you're going to spend that same time developing new mission-centered projects. And for me, that's what I would do. Like, I wouldn't spend a lot of time, unless it's super easy to get those publications out. I would not put energy there. I would put energy towards the new mission, because that is career building. That's a career building choice. So we don't want to just, I know it's hard to hear this, and maybe you think, oh, you can say that because you have your publications out. You have publications out and you already got full or something like that, which I would totally accept. But, you don't need to just publish anything. Publish the things that are going to fill you up inside, that you're excited about, that are going to lay the groundwork for the next exciting thing that you do, and not just publish anything. Like maybe those dissertation pieces, Andrea, are not just anything. Maybe they're related enough for you. I don't know. But I see people like putting all this energy into putting out things that are part of like their past selves just to have the line on the CV. And like a lot of places are only counting the number of publications that you have. So that's another thing to consider. If you're at a place that is going to give you tenure because of the number of publications you have on the list, and they've told you a number, then that might be a decision to make. But like, I would much rather, I want to just stop seeing the tenure process like a bunch of numbers, like a bunch of hoops to jump through. And instead, I want to redefine it as career building. Like what do we want to do in our careers, and when do we want to do it? Who do we want to be? What do we want our work to do? What other grants do we want to get? What are the other things? And not just this idea of like, just publish anything, So that's kind of my 2 cents right now. I would say, we shouldn't just publish things to get things out there, but instead we should try to be strategic about our pipelines. And really, it's a lot of work to write and publish something. And it's a lot of work taking something from your dis and changing it into another published form for most people. Because even though the 3-article dis is a thing, it's still not a thing for most people. So I would say, think about like, what would it feel like? Like imagine it in your head. Like what would it feel like to let go of that other project? And what would you do with the energy that you were going to put into the other thing? So just stuff to consider, just things to consider. Josephine says, I used to be a bookworm, then came 3 kids into full-time research and teaching. High five. Also, 3 kids. Haven't read a normal book in years. I've been trying for the last 4 summers. It hasn't happened. Any ideas? Yeah, like lower your bar in books. Just go for juicy fiction that are going to be like super page turning reads. That's what I've been doing. And actually, like, I don't even need to say, like, what I've been doing is getting into book series now. So, I want to just find an author and read everything of that author. Or I want to read through a whole series of things. Like, I've read all the Outlander books, even when I was mad at her for things that she was doing with the characters and for some choices and for some underlying themes that I didn't love. I was just like, I'm reading all these books because it's reading, first of all, and I want my kids to see me with a book in my hand. And I'm enjoying them and I'm being entertained and I'm not, analyzing too much. I just read and I'm forgetting the woman's name, but the title of is the woman who wrote, these are Oprah Book Club books. Oh. And now I've spaced them completely, so I'll come back to you with the recommendations. Something with bees in the title is what I'm reading right now. I'm going to South Carolina next week, and so I started reading books set in South Carolina. Anyway, I think it's really important for academics, especially overworked academics, to just read stuff that you like. I used to read Scientific American just because I liked it. I'm not a scientist. So like find anything, like it could be a magazine, it could be whatever, and just start to get in the habit again. I think it's a great idea. And don't be picky. Just read something juicy. It would be especially in the summer, it would be my advice. And I can't remember the names. The Invention of Wings. The Invention of Wings I just read, and the other one by her. I'll find it and I'll put it in the chat. Andrea says, thank you so much. Those are great ideas and will help me plan my summer reading. Cool. All right. Well, we've been live for half an hour and the baby fell asleep. She's not a baby. She's 3, but I still call her the baby because she's the last one. So today at 8 o'clock is the end of the early bird period for the Academic Women's Writing Roadmap. If you are interested in figuring out a way to do academic, if anything here that I've said has resonated with you, what I did was I poured all of my, what I keep saying and soapboxing about, into this online course. And actually I created, instead of just an online course, this summer, newly, it is a program. So there are 12 weeks in the program. I'm just going to this graphic here. So the 12-week program is divided into 3 phases: learning, doing, and refining. Learning is weeks 1 through 7. And that's where we go through, we figure out your academic mission statement, we learn how to manage pipeline, we do all of that stuff. The doing phase, which is a 2-week guided sprint, which is a technique that will serve you forever and ever in your academic writing, how to move a project forward. That's really what's going to teach you how to break projects into tasks and like project plan them out. And that skill that you do during those 2 weeks, that's going to take you really far. And then the refining part is building an accountability system, figuring out what are the best writing goals for you, project-based goals or task-based goals, word count-based goals, or time-based goals, or some kind of combination. And then finally, as a final project for the course, we create an amazing plan for your academic year 2019-2020. The specific dates for the doing section, it's the last 2 weeks of July, if I'm correct. It's the last 2 weeks of July. So, so the thing though, that's a good question, Maxine. The thing about the course is that everything in the 12 weeks is pre-recorded. So they are modules and then lessons within modules. And basically what I do, and I was just working on this yesterday, I'm refining the syllabus. So basically I give you a syllabus and I'm like, well, here's what I suggest you do weeks 1 through 12. But if you're like Maxine, if you're going to a conference or if you're planning rest or whatever things you're doing, I say that during weeks 1 through 7 and 10 through 12, we're talking about between 45 minutes and an hour and 15 maybe, to do the modules and the content. So you could go faster during those weeks or slower, and you could definitely move your sprint if you wanted to. So like most people will probably do it weeks 8 and 9 together, but you don't have to. You could do it a little earlier than that or a little later and just find a partner and do it together, because it's like inside of the learning management system. Here's like, let me see if I can actually pull it up without being a pain. Will the course be up after the 12 weeks in case you get behind? Yes. So the course materials, I'm just going to preview this for you. Hold on. Hold everything. So the course materials stay up. Here we go. So these are not released yet. So just so you know, like when you enroll, all these materials, you're not going to be able to see them. Like obviously you can't see this either. Hold on. So you can't see my screen because I'm talking to you on the video. Why is that like that? You get access to all the materials forever. So you don't get access to the community part of it forever. That's the collective. But you do get access to all the videos and everything forever. So here, let me see if I can do this and preview you like this. Yes, I can. Okay, so this is basically an idea of what it looks like inside the course portal. There. So basically each one of these, it tells you like, okay, the prep day, the first prep day 2, prep day 3, and then the revision days, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is just, you could just follow this on your own at some other 2-week period, right? So basically, for the sprint, you just work through each day. You do a lesson or 2, like here, there's more than 1 lesson. And this is an old version, so it's not a Facebook group. It's inside. We run the community part during the in a program called Mighty Networks, which is really great. So Gina asks, is there a way to stay in the collective, or is that just current students? So there will be a way to stay in the collective after the 15-week period. I haven't worked out all the logistics of it yet, but basically what I'm doing is I'm changing. It used to be that you could just sign up for the collective. Now, the only way that you can get into the collective is through the course. So there's a bunch of people in there. They're staying there. And then new people who come in through the roadmap course or through my 10-year mastermind called Amplify, you get into the collective. And then if for roadmap, you get offered at the end of the 15 weeks, if you want to stay in the collective, this is what I'm thinking right now, that you're going to be able to opt in to stay. But you can't just come in to the collective without having done a course. That's going to be the new kind of way that I run the show. Maxine says, do the 15 weeks of access to the collective overlap with the program? Yes. No, it's overlaps with the program because, the program, so this is the 2-week sprint. So there's like a lot of, it looks like, oh my gosh, there's so many lessons because there's a daily lesson. There's short, tiny daily lessons because it's a sprint. But let's imagine that this is the roadmap. They'll be like, okay, write your academic mission statement. And then you do the lesson, and then it says, post your mission statement in the group, and you'll post it in the collective. So we'll have a group inside the collective. We run it with a program called Mighty Networks. And so Mighty Networks lets you have groups inside of groups. So we have the big group of the collective, and then the students who are just in the roadmap are going to be able to, have their own writing circle. So inside the collective anyway, we have writing circles. We have like a social sciences writing circle, and the members of the collective have created those mostly. But then we'll create one for the roadmap and one for Amplify, if anybody who is listening is joining Amplify. And so inside of that circle will be just the students who are taking the course. So that way we stay kind of all about the same thing, and people who have questions or people are like, could you explain this better or whatever, then you can ask inside of that writing circle. And that's where you get access to me. So since everything is pre-recorded, the kind of live part of it is through the group. That's where you can ask questions, get feedback on what you're doing. Not every module has like an assignment, and that's fancy or anything like that. It's not like that, but it's more just like little check-in points to keep you accountable as you go through. So that's why, the 15 weeks in the collective starts on May 20th when classes start. And so you have 12 weeks more or less of the curriculum, and you get like this extra 3 weeks to like finish up, you know. The other reason for this is because I want people to finish the course. So sometimes with online courses, like what happens, right, is that we buy the course and then we do the first couple modules and then we don't do it anymore. And you could totally do that with this course. Nobody's coming to your house to make you do anything. And you have access to the modules, like I said, for the lifetime of the course. And so you can go back later. Like, that's totally fine. But I wanted to push people to actually do the modules, like actually go through the thing. And I think that there's something special about doing it together in a cohort. That I want to see how that works out. I've done the course different ways. And now my plan for the year, and this is the plan I'm sticking to for the year, is that I'm just going to launch it in the summer. So I'm just opening registration for this week. And today is the last day to get in at the $19.97 price. After tonight at 8 o'clock, the price goes up to $2,497. So that's $2,497. And so it's, you know, if you want to get it now, it's a great, you know, little added benefit that it's $500 off for the early registration. Registration closes Friday, and that's the cohort. And then we go through the 12 weeks together. And like I've been saying it, like you can speed up, you can slow down. It's up to you. And you have access. You can go back later. So if you're early in your career, this is a course that really can be for anyone who is from basically dissertating or late stage PhD up. And so even people who are full professors have taken this course as a way to kind of like breathe life into their writing and research, and it's worked for them. So Gina says, I agree with the cohort model. And the course begins when? A week from today. A week from today. It's so exciting. May 20th is day one. So next week is week one. So like I said, when you log in right now, you just log in and you get access actually to all or most of the bonuses. So there's some bonus courses that are included. Create Your Academic Brand is a bonus course that's included. The Academic Project Management Workshop, which is a 1-hour recorded workshop, and a bunch of Trello templates. You get those immediately. So if you log in, you'll see it's like you're going to when you enroll, you're going to enroll, and then you're going to have access to all of this stuff, and you're going to be like, whoa. And some of the stuff's going to be ready for you to consume and start if you wanted to. And there's some of the stuff is going to be like, you know, there's nothing there yet except we start May 20th. So that's how that's going to work. And like I said, you could, like, if you wanted to consume if you wanted to watch and do the whole 12 weeks in a binge, you could totally do it. You're going to have access to all the things. But you know, most people aren't going to binge it. Most people will probably, you know, walk through it together. So that's how that works. I would love to have you in the course. Gina, Maxine, whoever is listening, especially if you've been enjoying the Summer Writing Challenge, you are certainly invited into the course. It's going to be wonderful. We have a nice little cohort form so far, and so we have the rest of the week to keep registering people, and today is the last day for the early bird pricing. So thank you for joining me for this little Q&A. I loved it. I hope that you did too, and I hope you have a great day. And the baby's asleep. Yay. Bye.